Catholics. God's talking on behalf of mothers against Abbott. And they don't like God violence. They don't like you to pick up a gun and misuse it, God said. That's the mothers. That's maybe one of your mothers or some mother you may know. And there's also mothers who don't like violence. But that's who the three enemies go against. They don't like them because they speak the truth. They're educated and they understand gun violence brings jail sentences. Look up the Texas law or Texas whatever God said. How many people are in there for gun violence? Numbers speak. They're not against you. Mothers against Abbott ain't against you. Mothers against violence ain't against you. It's the three dummies that you fell in the traps, God said. Catholics. They have an ad, Mothers Against Abbott, God says, where a little girl drowns and they show her drowning and then they show that the crime or the accidents ain't about drowning. It's about gun violence. But I'll tell you right now, God says, I tell you right now, he spoke about the situation God said about drowning. And even those are ignored, God said, even those are ignored. But you're not going to ignore gun violence, God says, because you'll fall in the trap of the enemy. You're not supposed to be in there, Catholics. God does not want you in there, and he never planted you to lose your freedom. Mothers, he's never planted your kids to pick up a gun and lose their freedom or their life, or an adult that loses his life and now sees his kids in heaven growing up where the three where the three dummies are attacking them. But God said, let us live. Let us live so we could be to 80 years old, God said. Let us live and don't pick up the guns because you're falling in the traps of the idiots. Dummies, they don't like you. If you have a gun, they're going to test you and see how far. Are you a gangster or not? They're going to tell you you're a gangster. You could do it. You could get away. But in the system where on the technology they have and the fingerprints they have and what you call the people who care that you call snitches will tell on you. And now you're serving 20 years. But the message is, God said, don't fall in the traps of the dummy. If you think you can't handle a gun, God said, get rid of it. Your mother wants you to get rid of the guns. They don't want you. As a father I am, I don't want you with a gun. I feel the plea of God is asking you, Catholics, don't pick up a gun only for self-defense, God said. That's what God honors you. I tell you, you're God. You're God as you hear this message. This is a direct message from God. That's what he says. The whole network of heaven sees you. The whole network of heaven knows who listens. The whole network of heaven, that's including your father and all in the Quran and the Holy Bible are in your business. They don't like gun violence either. Some of them are up there in heaven because there has been victims of gun violence or victims of gangster moves or violence. God said, whatever you want to call it, they're up there. And now they can return. Your father cries when you get in jail, God says. Your father cries and that hurts him because your mother's praying, your children are praying, the judges are praying, the world is praying for you to stay out of there. Your God says. This is the dedication message to the mothers against Abbott, mothers against violence, and fathers against violence. There's a real enemy who wants you trapped in those prisons, God said. Not the government, not the president. It's the three dummy idiots that convince you that it's okay to pick up a gun and go hurt someone or go get retaliation, God said, but it's not God. It's not God. I tell you, your father knows, and he tells me that have confidence you will win the battle, my son. You tell him. You tell them, you convince your brothers and sisters that it's not worth it. It's better to walk hand in hand instead of versus. God wants you to win the battle. God wants you to win the battle, that you stay out of there, God said. I don't need my Catholics with gun violence charges. we'll stop there, God says.